Greatness is inside of you. And how come you don't realize this? How come you don't see that? It's oftentimes because of things that happen to us in our childhood. Parents, teachers, siblings, aunts and uncles. Things that they said, things that they did that hold us back even to this day into adulthood. Don't do this, don't do that. You're not that, you're not good enough. All those things that they said hold us back into adulthood. But the question you got to ask is, are they where you want to be? If they're not where you want to be, why would you take their advice? Why would you care what they say? Well, when you're a little kid, that's hard because they're the authority, right? And so you listen to them because you don't really necessarily have a choice. However, when you get to adulthood, you start to have a choice. But the things are so ingrained, it's hard to erase. And that's where there's a reprogramming of the mind that needs to occur. And my question for you would be, who's doing the programming? Are you doing the programming where it's a conscious thing, or is it society? Is it the news? Is it your inner circle? Who's actually doing the programming for you? You're going to get programmed one way or another. That's your habits, your daily habits that you do, your routines. That's the way that it shows up. And so if you're not cognizant of those routines, those habits, you're just going to be doing what the media wants, what society wants from you. You're just going to be a dumb, fat taxpayer. That's what society wants from you. Guess why? I'll tell you why. It's not necessarily that there's this big conspiracy or anything. It's really because you're worth more sick to some financial, to some, not necessarily financial institutions, but to institutions like the medical institution. You're worth more sick than you are healthy. You're worth more as fodder, being in the military, doing the bidding of the Congress or Senate or the president, being in constant wars and spending trillions of dollars on other people's borders and that sort of thing. You're worth more to them that way than you are alive. That's why. It's not a conspiracy, it's a fact. And so you have to ask yourself, who's doing the programming? Are you going to continue to be a knucklehead? Continue to follow orders? And I'm not saying if you're in the military you should stop following orders. That's not what I'm saying at all. If you're in the military and you signed up, you need to do your commitment and get out. But what I am saying though is, in order for you to make a change in your life, you're going to have to realize that society is going to push you in one direction and you have to go the other direction. And oftentimes what that really requires is that you have to change your circle of people that you hang out with, your daily habits, and you're going to have to drop vices because your vices are holding you back. So this is going to be the things like drugs and alcohol, overeating, those types of things. Those are the areas of your life where you're going to have to start to figure out. And hey, you know what? Everybody's a little bit different, so there's a bit of a variation, things that you're going to have to figure out that work for you, that keep you in routine. because it's really just consistency. It's not what are you going to work out and eat for this month, this next 30 days. It's what are you going to do for the next 3 years, 3 to 5 years. And maybe it takes you less time, hopefully it can take you less time than that. Maybe it takes only 6 months. But the reality, it always goes back to having that long-term picture of what it is that you want to achieve, and then you start to break it down. Okay, if this is where I want to be, then what are the steps, the action plans, the objectives that I'm going to need to start doing on a daily basis to reach those goals? That's it. That's all you have to do. And there's no secret formula to any of this stuff. It's really just a matter of staying consistent with knowing what it is that you want and having a little bit of flexibility. Not a ton where you're just completely always changing. It's just like there are things that are set and that are universal laws. A body in motion and cutting calories over time, and not necessarily cutting calories, eating the right foods, I should say, and hitting your macros over time is going to get you the results that you want. And you're going to have to make adjustments, slight adjustments, and you're going to have to really monitor and be concise with that. And the same, I heard this saying, it's just, you don't have to measure food in order to lose weight or to lose fat. But the same concept of, you don't have to look at your bank account every single day to save money either. But what's going to be better? If you're monitoring it, you're paying attention to what's going on, you're going to start to pick up trends. You're going to see, hey, when I drink alcohol, that sets me back 2 weeks. When I go to In-N-Out Burger or something like that, that sets me back 4 or 5 days. So you start to pick up those trends and understand that everything, there's a correlation to everything, pretty much. And the question goes back to this: who's doing the programming? If you're going to be a little bitch and just go off of your feelings in life, you're probably not going to be where you want to be. You're probably not going to have the things that you want, or that you say or think that you want. And you're not going to become the man or the woman of your dreams. But first you have to dream. You have to figure out, what does that person look like that you need to become? How do they talk? How do they treat themselves? How do they treat other people? How do they dress? Where do they live? What car do they drive? You start to get into the details, and you start to paint that picture, and you look at that every single day, and you start to understand what are the action steps that you need to take today. And over the course of 3 to 5 years, you're going to start to see results. The problem is that most people, they're not going to do that because it's going to take 3 or 5 years. So they'd rather bitch and complain about their situation right now, hoping and wishing that they win the lottery or that some type of miracle happens for them. And it's not that miracles don't happen. You create the miracle. You create the work. You create the outcome through your work. And so that's really where it boils down to. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.